was no obstruction, and if you read the report, you'll see that.
Former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort in federal custody as a judge revokes his $10 million bail and orders him to jail.
Indictments are not supposed to have any real impact. Why does the government get to win without a hearing or without a trial? I think it's very, very unfair.
The media in full meltdown mode over President Trump's immigration policies, some outrageously claiming that the administration is operating concentration camps.
That's just a crazy description. The shelters that they're referring to are, they have PlayStations, pool tables.
Robert De Niro cursing President Trump at the Tony Awards.
They're just kind of in this echo chamber. And the party of tolerance and acceptance is only accepting if you agree with them.
The U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club in New York. This is one of the toughest courses in the world.
Yes, the President of the United States just decided to show up on the show. I don't think it's going to happen in this hour. They should still stick around.
We have the camera there in case.
Just in case. Probably not today. An amazing interview yesterday by our own Steve Doocy on the lawn.
At this very same time, you were on the couch and you were watching it. Yeah.
It was one of the coolest moments I've ever been honored to be a part of, sitting on this couch when the president worked his way through the press there on the White House lawn to get to our segment. Steve Doocy, the president actually walked a little bit too far by, and Steve Doocy said, "Mr. President, over here," and he came up there. But then, in the transparency charge that he takes, that this president isn't transparent, he took another near half hour answering every question with the press. We'll have more on that. But of course, as you're waking up, I have dutifully read 568 pages of the Inspector General's report.
He really has. See that?
So that
Griff
you
read
would
it all.
not
He's got
have
notes
to.
on it and everything.
I call it our Griff notes because he
I
helps
read the
us
executive
survive all
summary.
this.
Griff read the whole thing.
And he gives us the points that matter the most and things that we should be concerned about. And one piece of this, what did you say, was page 30?
Page 303.
303?
Griff pulled it out for us. Griff, what do you got
So
for us
in a
here?
nutshell, we've heard that Comey wasn't influenced by bias. We've heard that 5 agents we've talked to have had this pervasive bias and were being referred for administrative action. But there is a case of a rank-and-file agent in New York who's looking into Anthony Weiner's sex problem.
Totally separate case.
Totally separate. He comes across on Anthony Weiner's laptop emails, a lot of them, 600,000.
Between Hillary and Huma.
And Huma Abedin, and he notifies headquarters. Peter Strzok, who said famously, "We'll stop Donald Trump." James Comey, Sean McCabe, now being prosecuted by a U.S. attorney. He sends this down in the beginning of September. We'll show you just a timeline. September 29th, I believe it is, he discovers the emails. He sends it down to Washington HQ. It's not until a month later, October 28th, that Comey acknowledges that these emails have been found. And this agent has said that when he was interviewed by Horowitz, "I was sounding the alarm, doing everything I could to get him to pay attention."
Unbelievable.
And he was absolutely ignored.
So here's the quote that comes out of the IG report from this FBI agent. He says, "The crickets I was hearing was really making me uncomfortable because something was going to come crashing down. I'm telling you that we have potentially 10 times the volume that Director Comey said we had on the record. I'm a little scared here. I don't care who wins this election, but this is going to make us look really, really horrible." And the next big question, Pete, is why? Why did a whole month period go by when you had the rank and file alerting the folks at the top that they found hundreds of thousands of emails on this server, on Anthony Weiner's computer? Why were they focused on the collusion with Trump? Were they focused on Russian collusion there? Were they thinking that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election? And so let's just sort of leave this where it is and not give it the focus that it deserves.
Of course,
What's going on?
Peter Strzok was in charge of both investigations, the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the Trump-Russia investigation. This report, while thorough and thick, feels like 500 pages of what they did wrong, 500 pages of all the bias, and then a couple of pages of, oh, by the way, we have to give them due deference and claim that there wasn't bias. What I love about this, what you found on page 303, Griff, is this is a rank and file guy. This is a regular FBI agent doing his job, going through laptops, laborious work. He says, I find all this stuff. It's very pertinent. He says, I'm not political. I don't care who wins the election. But this is evidence, so I'm sending it to HQ.
Right.
He's frustrated because he goes, I'm hearing nothing. How can I be hearing nothing? This is a bombshell. That is the revelation, the disconnect between the average men and women of the FBI and the political leadership who are clearly biased, and Horowitz shows it. But for some reason, just like Comey when he let Hillary off the hook, they let all these folks mostly off the hook, even though the evidence is there. Huge bias against Trump and for Clinton.
And just for the record, the Horowitz's analysis wraps that chapter, says that action could and should have been taken earlier on the part of the FBI.
Well, these are the questions that are going to be asked early next week, Monday and Tuesday, because you're going to have Michael Horowitz, who is the one that did this IG report. Also, Christopher Wray, who is head of the FBI. They are going to be grilled, I'm guessing, by members of the House and the Senate on Monday and Tuesday. And they're going to be asked these questions. And they're also going to ask them, should there be action taken against these agents that were flagged about these emails?
The president then talked to reporters, but
watch those cameras all move with him at the same time.
That's when Steve says, "Come over here, Mr. President," and waves him over. That didn't stop the media from calling the president out for not being transparent. But, you know, it seems to me what I was watching was the president taking dozens of questions. Take a look. We have a little snippet for you.
Send Mueller? Are you thinking of
No, but I think
You have spoken so passionately about the circumstances that led to Otto Warmbier's death.
Yeah.
In the same breath, you're defending now Kim Jong-un's human rights records.
Do you think James Comey's actions were unfair to Hillary?
How can
Kim love his people if he's killing them?
On the IG report, you've said twice now that it exonerated you and it proved there's no collusion.
If you read the IG report, I've been totally exonerated.
It had nothing to do with collusion.
What's the verification process?
We're gonna have
Are you planning to meet with Putin this summer?
Can we do one question at a time? Wait.
Not very transparent at all. It was an entertaining 52 minutes to combine Steve Doocy's interview with those questions that he took. But I said this in the 6 o'clock hour. I'll say it again. I'll pay anybody $100 if they can show me footage of one time when the press corps accosted Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama the way they do President Trump and Sarah Huckabee Sanders on a daily basis. It is dripping condescension and hatred. And Ed Henry tried. He sent me a text with one clip of him going after Hillary in the server, which he did. But Ed, you're just one man. I need the whole press corps there.
So he doesn't get the $100
just one guy
he
doing
promised.
a couple tough
Maybe
questions
$5
is different than the whole group descending the way they always do.
But you got to let the president respond there. It's so hard because everyone's jumping in and wanting their question answered. So it's tough for him. I think he would come out and do these pressers every single day if his advisors let him. He loves that exchange with the press. I think he loves talking to the American people as well.
I got to give Pete some financial advice. Stop making that $100 bet, because Pete has been buying a Scholastic's children's book about the president.
You bought me one today.
I did. I bought you one. I bought one for me.
He's been buying it all across. It is a book put out about President Trump, tells the story of President Trump, but yet the left is absolutely attacking.
So Scholastic, like other, they do books. You've seen that logo on the bottom center there, Scholastic. They do kids books, they do educational books. Well, they did a book about the President of the United States, which they've probably done about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln, of course, President Trump of that lineage. And as you do in these books, you hold up the success of the president, who was duly elected in this country. Part of the excerpt of this children's book.
First and second graders.
First and second graders, so I can read it. This is what one of the experts said. It says, his buildings reached into the sky. His businesses just grew and grew. Then Trump became our president. Some people wanted something new. And, you know, if you stand, as we did on the street just a moment ago, you look up, it looks like the buildings stretch to the sky if you've been to Trump Tower. But for the left, for haters of this president, it's just unacceptable.
So this comes from the Social Justice Books Review. Say, we find this book to be dangerous from a democratic standpoint. Also, perhaps words like Islamophobia, xenophobia, and misogyny are too complicated for first and second graders, but the concepts of exclusion and unfair treatment are certainly within reach.
You boy.
Well, so we asked you what you thought about this, and your comments have been pouring in. This comes from Margaret. Says, as a retired elementary educator, I can emphatically state that after elections, there are always books published about our new presidents. Never an issue how far the left has fallen. How sad.
Great perspective.
And this from Nancy. Absolutely thrilled our young students will read about our president. The left is relentless in trying to erase history.
And when I went to Amazon to try to order the book, it's on back order. So, Abby, your book might be on delay a little bit. Mine will be on delay. But
you're going to make it a bestseller, Pete.
We should. You know what? I mean, why can't we celebrate the president of the United States?
How much money are you willing to spend
our
on this
president.
book?
Well, it was only $5.99. But, you know, it's a good, strikes me as an interesting read. maybe our first and second graders should read about it. And they should read about Barack Obama, and they should read about Bill Clinton. They should read about all our presidents, and we should celebrate them.
It's history, absolutely. All right, there's a lot going on this morning. I do want to bring you some other headlines we're following, starting with a Fox News alert. On a serious note, a second sheriff's deputy dying overnight after being attacked by an inmate. Teresa King and Patrick Rohr shot and killed in Kansas City. Investigators, they believe the suspect grabbed one of their guns as they escorted him into court.
We heard a shot. We heard boom. I seen an officer shot in his head, and I seen another officer losing his life on the floor.
King was a 13-year veteran of the force. Rohr served 7 years. The suspect, Antoine Fielder, also was shot. He has a long criminal history, including murder charges. Also, a man under arrest after barricading himself inside an armored car near the Hoover Dam. The suspect, who may have been armed, stopping traffic in the homemade vehicle. Police say that he taped notes to the window addressed to the president, with one reading, "Release the OIG report." Police say the suspect, identified as Matthew Wright from Nevada, surrendered after a car chase. His motive is still unclear. And China retaliating against U.S. tariffs taxing $34 billion worth of American goods. It targets things like soybeans, hybrid and electric vehicles, seafood and pork. The tax is going to effect on July 6th. That is the same day that the U.S. will hit China with $50 billion in import tariffs over what the president calls intellectual property theft and other unfair trade practices. And a tough day at the U.S. Open as several big names missed the cut. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Jordan Spieth all sent packing after round 2 of the Shinnecock Hills in New York. Only one golfer is under par, number 1 ranked Dustin Johnson. Watch. Wow, unreal. DJ has a 4-stroke lead going into today's third round. Of course, you can catch the action today on Fox and FS1. Those are your headlines.
Good stuff. I was doing some reading from some folks email us during the show. Interesting thing to point out about this, the executive summary, polished and scrubbed by DOJ and the FBI. Honestly, this is what we're reading is only what was approved to be released. It was rewritten from what Horowitz wrote. So we're only getting part of the story here, folks.
And straight ahead is a new Inspector General report, further proof that the special counsel should be shut down. Mark Penn has repeatedly gotten attacked for slamming the Mueller probe. He joins us next.
And she went to the White House to get a woman out of prison. So could Kim Kardashian soon want to call the White House home? She responds, coming up.
Rudy says that you should not talk to Mueller.
A lot of people say that. People are afraid of that, and I would like to talk, but it seems to be very biased. I did nothing wrong. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction.
But, Mr.
There was
President,
no anything.
That was President Trump on Fox and Friends yesterday, responding to calls for an end to the Mueller investigation as the bombshell IG report revealed significant bias inside the FBI. My next guest, a Democrat, agrees, and he's been repeatedly attacked for it. But is he and the president now vindicated? Joining us now is former senior advisor to the Clintons, Mark Penn. Mark, thanks for being here this morning. So the IG report that came out, does it vindicate the fact that significant bias was slanted against candidate Trump and for candidate and Secretary Clinton?
Well, I think there's no question that the report reveals a culture of bias that was present in the FBI here, and you see it in all of the decisions that are made, both in the Hillary investigation. And, you know, the IG really does slam Peter Strzok, saying, you know, it's pretty clear whether he was biased or not on Hillary. He obviously was biased against Trump, and that could have been a very significant reason that this whole thing got started in the first place.
Mark, you say that it's clear that there was a culture of bias. If some of those same individuals are still there, would there not still be a culture of bias? So is there still a culture of bias as it pertains to the ongoing Mueller probe?
Well, it doesn't look to me like house has been cleaned based on these reports, based on these actions. Look, I think it's pretty clear that in the future, if we ever do investigations of campaigns and presidents again, which I'm generally against without the strongest evidence based on my having fought Ken Starr many years ago, they really have to be teams of Democrats and Republicans. They can't be teams that are clearly biased. The whole idea of these investigations is that they be fairer, and it's obvious that the Mueller investigation is stacked. Look at what happened to Paul Manafort here. I mean, Harvey Weinstein, who committed physical crimes, is out on $1 million bail, and Manafort is denied bail. He had terms before that were the same as Bernie Madoff's, right, for tax evasion from 2006, and they indict him again and again and again. This is not about finding crimes in people. It is about using the entire apparatus of the state against people to bludgeon them, exactly what the 8th Amendment and the rest of the Constitution was about.
Mark, to your point, the president calls them 13 angry Democrats. It seems that the Mueller team stacked with Democrats who don't look kindly on him. You talked about the IG report, over 500 pages. Even this report, though, is redacted, has been through scrubbings of different agencies. Are we ever going to get to the bottom of whether Hillary Clinton was actually given preferential treatment for her email server?
Well, look, the IG looks at it from one standard, which is there any justification other than bias for what people did? But you can read it with your with your own standard. And by any reasonable standard, I'm really amazed. Here's a fellow who works for an IT company. He knows there's a congressional subpoena. He destroys the emails. He lies repeatedly about it. The clearest crime flouting a congressional subpoena I have ever seen, and the clearest crime in this entire thing, and he's ignored. This is incredible.
Yes, evidence after evidence of bias, yet somehow they tell us there's no bias. We're not stupid. Mark Penn, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, a lot of rhetoric surrounding the immigration debate now reaching pitch levels. Listen.
We can't find a solution to this problem without harming children, without putting them into concentration camps.
What role will that rhetoric play as 2 Republican bills go up for a vote? The president weighing in. We'll bring.
The Democrats have decided to politicize the issue rather than get serious about addressing the president's 4 pillars.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
We are scarring those children for life by taking them away and institutionalizing them.
This is un-American. That's what this is. This is un-American.
The Democrats, by the way, are very weak on immigration.
The immigration debate heating up on both sides as members of Congress gets ready to vote on 2 bills next week. Meanwhile, President Trump weighing in on that debate just moments ago, tweeting this: Democrats can fix their forced family breakup at the border by working with Republicans on new legislation for a change. This is why we need more Republicans elected in November. Democrats are good at only 3 things: high taxes, high crime, and obstruction. Sad. All right, here to debate Lisa Booth, a Fox News contributor and senior fellow at the Independent Women's Voice, and Julie Alvin, a liberal analyst. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Abby.
All right, Lisa, look, you've got 2 sides here. You have the president blaming Democrats, saying these policies go back to the Democrats when they were in control. We're just enforcing these laws. And then, you got Democrats who say Republicans don't have a heart. They don't have a soul. They want these children to be separated. You listen to the media. They're saying these kids are held in concentration camps. Where does this end? Is there any way that you see in the near future a solution?
Well, look, I think immigration has always been a nuanced and complicated issue. That's why the DACA issue has not gotten solved under different administrations, and even in Congresses where Democrats had the majority. So, I mean, it is very nuanced. It is very complicated. But I do think there's a deceptiveness and an intentional deceptiveness in handling President Trump's immigration policies. There's a Daily Beast article, and Daily Beast certainly is no right-wing publication, talking about how you can thank Obama for President Trump's detention policies when it comes to children. I mean, look no further than the photo that we saw that went viral by journalists, by President Obama's speechwriter, showing undocumented children in holding cells. Dianne Feinstein was actually asked about this by Jake Tapper on State of the Union, and she said she basically ignored President Obama's immigration policies, but now she's all of a sudden paying attention to this. So I think there was an intentional ignorance when it comes to Democrats under President Obama, and I think President Trump's being handled in an entirely different way, and it's unfair.
Julie, here's the thing. You've got a Republican who is currently president. You've got Republicans in control right now of the House and the Senate. Democrats have made it clear they want change when it comes to immigration. They want to make something happen. But in order to do that, you've got to work with the other side. You've got to negotiate. You've got to be able to have a give and a take. And that is what the president just tweeted. He said, I want the Democrats to come talk to me. Are they willing to do that in good faith, you think?
I think that they are. I think this is an issue, especially in the past few weeks, as it's become clear that thousands of children have been separated from their parents at the border, often without the ability to say goodbye, the ability to reach each other without knowing where the other are. There's been children taken from their parents while they're breastfeeding. Like, this is a horrific situation that's happening at the border now. And I do think that Democrats are really motivated right now to negotiate on this issue. I think there are a couple things in the bills that are coming out next week that might potentially please Democrats. But I must say, when we talk about the deception when it comes to the rhetoric around immigration policy, to say that it is a Democratic policy that is separating children from their parents at the border is a lie. That is not true. I would urge the people watching to please look this up themselves and make that judgment. It is specifically the way that the Trump administration since April officially announced on May 7th have decided to handle these immigration crossings that is separating parents from their children. This did not happen to this degree under the Obama administration, and to say that this is Democratic is
Lisa,
false.
it's the blame game, right? That is getting us nowhere. We all saw that exchange the other day in the press briefing with Sarah Sanders, and you had that Playboy reporter, I think he also is an analyst at CNN, basically berating her, saying, you're a mother, you've got kids, do you not have a heart, do you not care about these children?
It's
a really
good question.
unfair moment that I, as I was watching it, I thought, why are we all blaming each other, Lisa? Where does that get us?
Well, it's a fair question, but to invoke her children's name is wrong. And it was also done in a manner in which he was clearly just seeking media attention. And look, this issue is more nuanced than the way that it's being discussed. You look at the Flores settlement, which is a court case. Basically, the Trump administration has three options. They can either separate the families. They can either, if a law needs to be passed to keep the families together, or they can let them go. And we know that the New York Times has even stated that the family aspect is being abused, and they're intentionally coming over as a family unit because they believe that they will be released into the United States earlier as a result. We also know that it's been reported that is being taken advantage of, that these children are being entrusted with smugglers, either as favor or for profit. So it's not as clean cut as people would like to make it out to be. And in regard to legislation next week, it's not just, Republicans are going to be split on, which bill to pass. I think there's two bills that are going to be considered, but it's also Democrats. Henry Cuellar of Texas has said that he doesn't want to vote for anything that has border funding in it. So look, it's not just Republicans, it's Democrats that are split on the issue, which again goes back to my original point of the nuance and how complex and complicated this issue is to solve.
All right, Lisa. Julie, quickly, last word.
I hope that we solve this problem. I think that nobody wants to see these families separated at the border. I think that, the sooner we can get to the negotiating table and make real change when it comes to this, it's crucial. But I don't think it's fair to blame the Democrats for what's happening.
All right. Well, the president has asked Democrats to come speak to him. We will see where all this goes because we know that some real change does need to be made. Julie, Lisa, great to have you on this morning. You as well. All right, coming up on the show, remember the Navy sailor President Trump pardoned who said this about James Comey?
The true enemies of the state isn't the serviceman taking pictures of something that he's proud of. It's the people changing the laws to benefit their cronies.
So what does he think now that Comey used his personal email to conduct FBI business? We are going to ask Christian Saucier live just ahead. You don't want to miss that. And more estimates are now pointing to a 4% second quarter GDP growth. Stuart Varney is here live. He has been optimistic from the beginning. He's going to tell us what it means for you and your bank account. You don't want to miss it.
We have the best economy today we've ever had, never been better. Jobless rate, the lowest, the best in 44 years, just came out. We're going to have some incredible things.
We had Stuart Varney on our air earlier.
By the way, he is great. I love Stuart.
That little part, he's going to be running every day now.
And he's right. He knows what he's talking about.
He sure does know what he's talking about, and he's here with us outside here in the Fox News channel. Stuart Varney, host of Varney & Company. Big shout out for the big man yesterday.
Yes, that had some impact, let me tell you.
That whole morning yesterday was sort of a shock, right?
But it's very flattering for an immigrant to get a shout out from the President of the United States.
Well,
I mean, very flattering indeed. I loved it.
So, Stuart, is he really giving you a shout out, or is he giving the economy,
No,
which you
you're
say
right.
is now
You're
hit
right.
4% already?
You're dead right. The President was giving a shout out to the economy because in the quarter that we're now in, that's April through the end of June, we have achieved almost 4% growth. We haven't seen that in 4 years, and 4 years ago we only did it for 1 quarter. My point is prosperity has returned, and that's extremely important.
Then why wasn't he asked about that? He spoke to, of course, our Steve Doocy, but then spoke to a media gaggle for almost 30 minutes, and I didn't hear one question about the economy.
Those reporters want to get him. All they wanted was gotcha questions, whether it was North Korea, children in cages, whatever. Nothing about the economy, not a single question. In my opinion, the return to prosperity is the most important factor in America today. We are a divided society. What brings you back together? Prosperity. Everybody trying to climb that food chain. Prosperity is the glue that binds us together, and that's where we are right now.
You know, we were told years ago the jobs aren't coming back. We just aren't who America may not lead the world yet. This Wall Street Journal headline says economic growth in the U.S. leaves the world behind. What has been the biggest fuel for us leaving the world behind again?
Tax cuts. Tax cuts and deregulation. Flat out. That's what's done it. We've put an enormous amount of money to work in the private sector. Think about it. You're a business. Back in the day, maybe 30% of your profits would go to the government. Now, maybe 20% of your profits go to the government. That extra 10% is a chunk of money that you've got available to invest in the private sector of the economy. And I maintain that private sector investments, private sector money flowing in there is much more important than giving it to the government, the dead hand of government. That's why we're growing close to 4% now, and I think it might get better.
What about
in
the
future.
tariffs? Because the president's now putting billions of dollars of tariffs on China. They're doing the same to us. It's going into effect in July. You can expect those headlines to be out throughout this period of time that it's going to be very, very harmful for the economy. What's the reality?
The reality is that America has an 18 going on $19 trillion economy. Those tariffs will affect a minuscule proportion of that overall number. I don't think the impact will be very significant, and I think the president is simply using tariffs as leverage to get more of the American interest in the trade situation. I don't think we're in a trade war, and I don't think we're going towards a trade war in the future.
Stuart, I want to ask you, I remember back during the Clinton administration, James Carville famously saying, it's the economy stupid. We don't hear the Democrats saying it's the economy stupid anymore. Why?
Gee, I wonder why. Look, it's my opinion again that the Democrats do not have a growth plan. And I'll repeat it, what I said to you on Friday, I think. If the Democrats had won the presidential election, if Hillary was the president today, you would not have 4% growth. You would not have a 3.8% unemployment rate. You would have, I don't know what you'd have, but you would not have prosperity. The Democrats don't have a plan.
You see it lasting?
Yes, I do. At least through the rest of this year. What slows it down? We still haven't had the full impact of the tax cuts. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to get 5% or 6% growth. That's a bit of a stretch. But 4% for a couple of quarters to come, I think it's going to happen.
It's a whole other ball game.
It is.
The president loves Stuart Varney. We love Stuart Varney.
Yes.
And what a beautiful day here in New York City.
Oh, don't you love it?
It's good to see you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you. All right, turning now to some other headlines we are following. Road rage now to blame in a shooting that left a 13-year-old boy dead and his mom and brother fighting for their lives. Police say Jeremy Webster followed the family to a parking lot in Colorado after some sort of argument. He also shot a witness. Right now, police don't think that he knew his victims. Court records show Webster admits to that shooting and claims he has mental health issues. He now faces murder charges. Horrible story. And a state trooper literally going above and beyond to take down a suspect. Stop what you are doing and take a look at this. The trooper diving headfirst over a fence, then tackling the man in Arizona. The whole thing caught on highway cameras. It started with the suspect refused to pull over a traffic stop. Officials say he had drugs and is facing a long list of charges. All right, well, she went to Washington to get a woman out of prison. Now Kim Kardashian is not ruling out a job in the Capitol.
Would you ever run? for office?
I guess never say never, but that's not going to be like a Kim's run. That's not where what I'm going for.
Kardashian tells CNN that she enjoys using her platform to help people. Earlier this month, President Trump commuted Alice Johnson's life sentence for drugs after meeting with that reality star. Her husband, of course, Kanye West, has said that he would run for president. Nike is apologizing after unveiling a near-identical logo to the U.S. Naval Academy crest. The company halting the release of their new fashion line after social media backlash. Some critics online even calling it stolen valor. The Navy crest was adopted back in 1899 and can be seen on class rings and all kinds of school merchandise. Can't get away with that stuff anymore.
I totally get it. It's kind of flattering, though. Isn't imitation the highest form of flattery?
Yeah, but you got to earn it.
It's true.
You can't just wear it. You can't just go to Nike and buy it.
You know who we have to flatter is Rick. Because he's got great weather today.
I'm trying to imitate your hair, Pete.
Impossible.
You're nailing it.
I'm like willing it. I'm willing it to happen. Hey, let's talk some weather out here. We've got a really hot day across a lot of the country. In fact, we also have some big storms move through parts of Wisconsin overnight. Some more storms moving in today, especially across areas of Minnesota. You get the idea there. Lots of moisture out there, and it's hot and it's humid. And take a look at this. Some much needed moisture down across the southwest. We have those fires across parts of the southwest. Colorado, we're going to see that moisture move in there. Could see a little bit of flash flooding, but certainly help with those fires. This is the first considerable moisture we have across parts of Arizona in about 3.5 months. So we will take it. High temperatures today, incredibly hot, 96 in Chicago. Not only that, it's going to be humid. This is the next 3 days. Pick your city. You get the idea. Summer is here, even though it's not officially here, guys. It's here.
Rick!
Thank you, Rick. He's the most popular man on our show.
Yeah.
The crowd just flocks to
Not
Rick.
just with the crowd, but with us. Everyone loves Rick.
Yeah, he's the best
He's a good
guy in
man.
the world. Yeah.
Except for Dave, the stage manager. He says terrible things about him. Not true. All right, we're moving on. Remember the Navy sailor President Trump pardoned who said this about James Comey?
The true enemies of the state isn't the serviceman taking pictures of something that he's proud of. It's the people changing the laws to benefit their cronies.
What does he think now that Comey used his own personal email to conduct FBI business? We're going to ask Christian Saucier live coming up next.
And with summer less than a week away, although it feels like it, it's time to start prepping your yard. We've got tips to help you with landscaping like a pro. That's coming up, and I know I need some, so to speak.
She cranks my tractor.
The Navy sailor just pardoned by the president after he was thrown in jail for taking photos inside a submarine says he is planning to sue James Comey in the Obama administration.
So what does he think now that it was revealed in the Inspector General's report that Comey used his personal email to conduct FBI business? Joining us now, former Navy sailor Christian Saucier. Christian, thanks for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. We know your story. You took a couple of photos innocently. You admit that it was not the right thing to do, but you were punished for it, and the president pardoned you. In this particular case, though, James Comey is investigating Hillary Clinton for her own personal email use. He's doing it at the same time. Is there a double standard here?
Oh, absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me on your show. And yeah, you're absolutely right. See, the issue here is they weren't willing to prosecute her because they were breaking the same laws. So does that make it okay? No. I broke protocol by taking pictures. There was no malintent. So based off the standards that they used not to prosecute Hillary Clinton, they shouldn't have prosecuted me. I basically broke protocol. While the FBI was breaking protocol and taking bribes and conspiring against presidential candidates, and all they recommend in the IG report is training. How is that okay?
Christian, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please go.
Well, Christian, the day that your attorney decided that he was going to sue, that you guys were going to sue Comey and the Obama administration, your attorney told me that he was waiting to read this IG report. Now, as you point out, we know that James Comey had a Gmail account, that President Obama was emailing with Hillary Clinton. What do you and your legal team make of what's in this report, and will we expect some filing to come soon?
Well, I mean, it's pretty clear now. This is a huge blow to their excuses that they've made this whole time, that they didn't know what they were doing was wrong, or that the investigation was run fairly. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that there was some serious bias within the FBI against certain individuals, and they weren't conducting fair investigations. So this is just irrefutable proof. It's given us all the proof we need to go forward with our lawsuit.
Christian, you used the word intent. It's such a great point because you did not have malice in your intent. You made a mistake. You were punished for it. Yet they hold Hillary Clinton to the standard of, well, her intent wasn't to harm the country, even though she broke a bunch of laws in the process. Why does intent not matter for you, but it matters for her?
Well, because I'm a low-level person. I'm not connected like they are, you know, and I didn't have friends at the FBI and the President of the United States saying that I didn't break the law and doing everything they could to exonerate me. They, you know, like I said, they manipulated the law to prosecute me and not prosecute her. And if anything, people in Hillary Clinton and James Comey's status should be held to a higher standard than people, the average American citizen. I mean, if they're going to enforce the policies upon America, then they should be willing to take responsibility for their actions at a much higher level to set the example for us, and they clearly aren't willing to do that.
Christian, just real quickly, is there something in this IG report that you think stands out that really hasn't been talked much about because there are so many parallels to what happened to you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, where they speak about in there that, you know, so many people, it was so rampant within the State Department that they were, you know, using personal emails to transmit highly classified emails, that there was no way they could prosecute Hillary Clinton because they'd have to prosecute all these other people. So it's perfectly okay not to, you know, exercise the law as long as it's too difficult for you to do. But it's okay when you got just one person like myself to just destroy their life. You know, it's very upsetting, and I think that our lawsuit's going to, we're taking a stand here, and I think the American people should take a stand and say enough's enough.
Christian,
obviously they're not going to police themselves.
I love your point. It's not just the same standard, but in the military we are trained to hold our leaders to even higher standards, which means, I mean, it's such a great point that's so often missed. Christian Saucier, thank you for your time and insight this morning. Appreciate
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me on.
You got it.
You bet. Still ahead, with summer less than a week away, it's time to start prepping your yard. We've got tips to help you landscape like a pro, and we're warming it up. Abby's getting out there. What's she doing? Trimming a bush there? Yeah, maybe mowing the grass. All right.
Really want to have
Welcome back. Are you envious over your neighbor's perfectly manicured lawn? That's about to change.
Actually, there is one house on the block that is so perfectly manicured, I almost went up to their door and asked them about it. This morning, we have tips on how to landscape like a pro to make your yard the talk of the neighborhood.
Here with us now is Vice President and spokesperson for the National Association of Landscape Professionals, Missy Henriksen. Always good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning. We have transformed the plaza this morning.
Yeah. It looks beautiful.
It's beautiful, and that is through the efforts of Weaver Garden and Miranda Landscape. They've done a great job.
And people are wanting to turn whatever space they have into something special, sort of their escape. And you say lighting today can be a really important thing.
Right. People are investing a lot more in their outdoor living spaces, so they want to enjoy them as much as possible, even into the evening. So we're seeing a real uptick with outdoor lighting. We have lighting that's been provided to us by McCabe Landscape Lighting. There's functional lighting for deck lighting or path lighting, which you're holding there in your hand. We have decorative lighting like the tiki torches there. And we're really seeing a trend that's really popping right now where people are adding color to their outdoor lighting. For instance, if you're celebrating a sports team like the Caps, go Caps, all Caps, you can put red or blue. Also a great way to celebrate the holidays.
Well, Pete wants just red, white, and blue anyway.
Yep.
There you go.
You can do that too. It's always an option. Now, we're hearing the water trickle here.
Right. It's another popular outdoor trend that we're seeing here. Campania International has provided these beautiful fountains. You know, a lot of us really need means of escape, and we can't always get away for the weekend. So we can do that in our own backyard. These outdoor water features, you don't have to have a big yard. Small spaces will allow for you to enjoy the sounds of the water and really feel that sense of escape. Lots of different styles.
You can play with them too.
Pete, you can play with them. Be careful.
Missy,
be careful.
Missy, is this self-contained? I mean, do you need an elaborate plumbing situation to
Absolutely
create this?
not. This is plug and play. And you notice this one is in neutral colors. You can also have them customized to whatever color fits your decorative palette for your outdoor living space.
My golden retriever would go nuts over
I think there'd be a lot of fun. And kids too.
Giant bowl.
Yes, he would go crazy.
They'd have a lot of
How
fun.
about landscaping?
So you know what really
very few
brings
of us are good at.
watch the lights here, don't you?
Yep.
What really brings everything together is, of course, the plantings. We've got some beautiful things here that have been created, again, by Miranda Landscape and Weaver Gardens. And just we see the vertical gardens that we have here, which you can use for your
Is this real
vegetables.
tomato?
Look how cool this is.
This is
These
like
are
a
herbs
pizza
and-
waiting to happen. We've got
like it's edible.
tomatoes and chives and basil. Lots of good things over here. Another thing that professionals do very well is they bring plantings to life, and that can make our outdoor living space really pop. So you'll see some things here, again, done by the professionals. They do it best, but we can copy some of the habits that they do. You'll notice in all these planters a lot of height and visuals, and we call that thrillers, spillers, and fillers.
So, Missy, our viewers are watching this right now. How can they learn more about this? Where do they go on the web?
We've got lots of inspiration, lots of ideas, and ways people can find a landscape professional at loveyourlandscape.org.
Loveyourlandscape.org. People should eat tomatoes more like apples, more frequently.
Well, the fresh tomatoes taste the very best. We'll have all the info on our website and more Fox and Friends right after this.